Welcome to another episode of Millennial Investing Explained. Here's today's question. I personally have enjoyed many things that you've written about or talked about. I'm a big fan of yours, but one of the favorite things that you talk a lot about is this idea of the number of times that you have something left. And that was something that was in the back of my mind as you were talking about how busy your day was. And whether it be going on a trip or like you've talked about going to visit your parents, you often break down the number of times you truly have left of each activity. Can you talk to us more about this idea and why it's so important to you?
My relationship with time is, when we think of relationships, we think of them in terms of people. How's your relationship with your dad or your mom or your kids? And that's super important. I also think your relationship with time is very important. I think for a lot of people, we think the notion is we have a ton of it. And the reality is we don't even know if we have tonight, But no one thinks like that. If they did, they'd have their graveyard picked out. They'd have their passcodes handed out to their loved ones. But no one thinks it's going to happen anytime soon. So my relationship with time is I'm very aware of my mortality. I'm very aware of how long the average American lives to, which is 78. I'm very aware of that. So it's created a lot of urgency in my life. But more importantly, it forced me to focus on moments, not minutes or hours or days. So I mark my moments. I'm always saying to my friends, remember this right now. We might not ever jump in this lake again. We might not ever run this race again. We might not ever be in this room brainstorming this business idea. Mark this moment in your head as a moment that we remember. I say it all the time. I'm an encyclopedia of moments. That's how I look at it. I look at my parents, about to be 90. If my dad or my mom live 5 more years, I hope they live forever. And I see them twice a year. I don't have 5 years. I have 10 visits. So that's sort of how I put it in a box. Now, millennials, young cats out there, are invincible. This might sound like a little bit crazy, but as you get older, you'll start to realize people tell you it goes fast all the time. You don't need me to say that life goes fast, but the younger that you realize how important those experiences are and you take advantage of them at a young age, then the more rich your life will be because you'll have more experiences and memories. And at the end of the day, what more do you want than that?
Yeah, it does sound a little crazy to somebody like a millennial, but I remember the first time that I heard you say this and talk about this, and ever since then, it's always been in the back of my mind. I think I can do better at it, but it's something that I always try and live my life by.
Let me ask you a question. In the last 5 years, from 19 to 24, what are the 5 biggest things that have happened in your life?
I'd have to say graduating college and buying my first real estate investment property. Of course, there's more than just those 2 things that have happened over the last 5 years, but it would take some time for me to think back as to what they are.
See what I'm saying? You're not even going through it, man. You're living like, boom, you went from 19 to 24 with 2 moments. You lived 1,500 days, and you just told me 2 things out of 1,500 days. So that's my point. You're not alone. Most people can't remember what they did 8 days ago. So what I'm saying is these moments are so important because otherwise you're just going through it, and it's like you're going from A to B like nothing happened, man. There's 1,500 days. Ups, downs, wins, losses, trips, family, emotions. And once you realize 19 to 24 went like that, you should be able to rattle off 30 things instantly. And they don't have to be like, I climbed Mount Everest. They could just be like, oh my God, I was on a boat ride and I got emotional. I did this, I did that, whatever. But like for millennials, just look back on your own life and be like, what did I do this year? I had a whole year. What did I do? What were the 3 or 4 things or 5 things that defined this year? And if you can't pick them out, you got to relook at how you're living your years.
I'm actually leaving for Disneyland on Monday, so that's going to be something I really need to plug into that experience and take your advice there and really make sure I'm fully involved and not on my phone, not on my computer. I'm really involved in that experience.
Don't give up your 20s, man. You're 24 years old. Don't all of a sudden wake up and be 30 and be like, what happened to my 20s? Don't be 40 and be like, what happened to my 20s and 30s? And certainly don't be 50 and be like, what happened the last 3 decades? Because at 50, everything starts to break down.
That's all for this episode of Millennial Investing Explained. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even more free content.